Think of, like, the greatest historical achievements. Front page headlines around the world.
Oh, right, like summiting Everest or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Breaking the sound barrier, completely defying the odds to do something no human being has ever done before.
Right.
So you have that image in your head. Now, imagine if your absolute greatest, your most impossible wish in the world wasn't a gold medal or a historic first.
Okay.
Imagine if your deepest wish was just to, like, buy a shirt at the local mall and then go home without anyone noticing you.
Wow. Yeah, it completely upends how we think about ambition, doesn't it?
It really does.
I mean, we are so conditioned from childhood to view barriers as these massive cinematic glass ceilings. But sometimes the most profound, impenetrable barrier in a person's life isn't a glass ceiling at all.
Right.
It's literally just the automatic sliding doors at the entrance of a shopping center.
And that is exactly the paradigm shift we are diving into today. Welcome to our deep dive.
So glad to be here for this one.
Yeah, today we're basing our discussion on a profoundly personal essay. It's titled The Price of Ordinary Life by Dr. Jaime Hoerricks. And just a quick note for you listening, she pronounces her name J-A-Me.
Great, J-A-Me.
And this material, it really delves into autistic firsts, mall meltdowns, and, well, the completely hidden costs of simply existing in public spaces.
It is such a remarkable piece of writing, honestly, because it forces you to completely reevaluate the baseline of your daily life.
Absolutely.
It challenges all those baked-in assumptions we make about the environments we just, move through on autopilot every single day.
Yeah, and that's our mission for you today. By the time we wrap up this deep dive,
Yep.
you are going to look at the everyday spaces you walk through in a completely different way.
Mm-hmm.
The malls, the schools, the brightly lit grocery stores, the airports. You're going to start seeing the invisible, exhausting arithmetic that other people are doing just to survive those spaces.
It's a huge shift in perspective.
It is. Okay, let's unpack this. We need to start with this really jarring tension set up right at the beginning of the text.
Yeah.
There's this massive clash between what society demands from an autistic person and what an autistic person actually wants for themselves.
Yeah, there's a brilliant moment where the text examines our cultural hunger for, autistic achievement. But
Right.
there's a catch.
There's always a catch, right?
Exactly. Society only hungers for that achievement when it fits a very specific marketable narrative. We want the triumphant headline.
Yep.
We want the first autistic person to do X, Y, or Z.
Right, but Dr. Hoerricks specifically rejects that.
Yeah.
There's a clear statement in the text. I do not want to be the first autistic president.
Yeah.
The goal isn't to prove something grand or inspiring to the public imagination. And this concept really stuck with me. There's a refusal to accept the story where, and I'm quoting here, suffering is tidied into perseverance and access is replaced by applause.
Man, that quote, if we connect this to the bigger picture, what's being critiqued there is our cultural obsession with narratives of overcoming. The society just loves the story of the individual who pushes through immense, agonizing pain to achieve something recognizable. The essay notes that the world likes the broken gate better than the open door.
Wow. Wait, the broken gate better than the open door?
Yeah. Think about the implications of that. We would rather applaud someone for, literally bleeding as they climb over a broken gate than actually do the structural collective work of just fixing the hinge.
Fixing the hinge and opening the door for them.
Exactly.
That is such a vivid way to put it. To me, it's as if society is constantly demanding a blockbuster superhero movie, right?
Right.
Like where the protagonist has to overcome impossible odds, fight the villain, save the day.
Right.
But the author is essentially begging for a quiet indie slice of life film where they just get to run a basic errand without it turning into a total disaster.
It's a perfect way to frame it.
Like the actual wish presented is to be the first autistic person to have an uneventful trip to the mall. Not the literal first person in human history, but the first in the record of their own body.
Mm-hmm. The first time the wanting isn't used as evidence against them.
Yes.
Mm.
The first time the ordinary thing just gets to stay ordinary.
And, to understand why that seemingly tiny wish is so incredibly difficult to achieve, we have to look at the arithmetic of public spaces.
The arithmetic, yeah. Let's get into that.
Because autistic people have always been in public places, they're passing through markets, schools, and offices alongside everyone else. But they are quietly doing this immense, constant sensory calculus.
Right.
Calculating the harshness of the fluorescent light, the overlapping sound frequencies, the physical distance between people.
Expected pace of movement.
Exactly. Even just the speech required to just, order a coffee.
Which is mental math most of us never even realize is happening.
Never.
And despite doing that arithmetic perfectly most of the time, the text walks us through a specific mall trip where the sensory input finally overwhelmed the system.
Yeah. The math failed.
The math failed.
Yeah.
But what's described during this meltdown isn't checking out or disappearing. I think that's a huge misconception.
Oh, absolutely.
Because the author is entirely there. The mall keeps being a mall, children crying, coins dropping, music echoing off the ceiling.
And fully aware.
Yes, full presence, but a complete inability to be reached.
And that is the absolute crux of the terror being described here. The world knew exactly how to respond to the dropped coins and the crying children.
Right.
But it did not know how to respond to an adult in a neurological freeze state. And it wasn't because there wasn't a need. The need to leave was desperate and urgent.
I mean, she was screaming internally, right? Leave, stop, exit, quiet, car.
Yes, but the need had lost its public shape.
The language failed before the body did. There was an awareness of the exit, an intense feeling of urgency. But the words just wouldn't assemble into the sentence that would get them out the door.
So it's terrifying.
The best analogy I can think of, and let me know if this tracks, is a computer where the underlying hardware and the files are perfectly intact.
Okay.
The user knows exactly what they want to click. The internal logic is flawless. But the user interface, the UI, has completely frozen.
Yes, that's it.
So no matter what you do, no inputs are recognized by the system. The outside world looks at the screen and thinks the computer is dead. But inside, everything is just screaming to function.
That's a perfect analogy for what's happening neurologically. And what's fascinating here is how this connects to the concept of being a gestalt processor.
Oh, okay.
The text touches on this, and it highlights a profound systemic flaw in how our culture views communication entirely.
Wait, I need to stop you there. Gestalt processor.
Yeah.
The text mentions it, but I genuinely don't fully grasp what that means in this context. Can you break that down for me?
Absolutely. So think of it like this. Many people are analytical language processors. They learn language word by word, like single Lego bricks, right?
Right, Lego bricks.
And they build sentences from the ground up. Gestalt language processors, on the other hand, often learn language in larger chunks or scripts. It's kind of like buying a pre-assembled Lego castle.
Oh, I see.
Under normal conditions, they can break that castle down and use the pieces. But during a massive sensory overload, when the nervous system is perceiving an environment as an active threat,
The system crashes.
right, the brain loses access to the complex executive function required to break down those chunks and build a brand new, spontaneous sentence.
So when the lights and sounds are too much, the brain goes into fight or flight, and you literally lose access to the Lego bricks needed to say, the fluorescent lights are humming at a frequency that physically hurts me, and I need to go to the car.
Exactly. The urgency is there, but the translation mechanism completely crashes, and this is where the systemic flaw comes in.
How so?
Well, society operates on the strict assumption that if a need is real, it will be communicated in a way that is administratively legible.
Administratively legible. Wow, that phrase is incredibly clinical.
It is, because that's how society treats us. We expect clear speech, direct requests, a consistent tone, and, proportionate emotion.
Right, like filling out a form.
Exactly. We expect the person in distress to basically submit a properly formatted ticket to the public help desk. But the body doesn't fail in administrative language.
No, it doesn't.
It fails before language. The urgency is entirely real before it's translated, but the world just stands by, arms crossed, waiting for the translated polite version.
Just waiting for the paperwork to be filed correctly.
Yes. And when distress loses that recognizable public shape, society just leaves the individual stranded. Nobody turns. Nothing stops.
That's heartbreaking. And, the biological cost to that system freeze is staggering.
Oh, the hangover.
Yeah. When your nervous system goes through that kind of extreme event, the biological tax doesn't just evaporate when you finally make it out the sliding doors.
Not at all.
Your body has to pay the bill. Let's look at what that biological debt actually feels like the next day. The text describes the hangover of the meltdown. Being barely vocal, having no spoons.
Which, just for context, in disability communities means having zero energetic resources left.
Right. And living in a thin, gray place where you exist but can't quite arrive. The trip is Wonderfully phrased here. Still making weather.
Still making weather. I mean, it perfectly captures the autonomic nervous system hangover. It's a real physiological state.
Yeah.
But compounding that physical hangover is a massive emotional one. The feeling of shame. And the material explicitly ties this to age.
This part hit hard.
Right. Dr. Hoerricks is 55 years old, writing with real, palpable pain about the fact that she is still melting down at the mall.
There's this phrase she uses, the ableist fantasy of development.
Yes.
It's the societal expectation that by the time you reach adulthood, you should just have stable, unwavering command over your nervous system. You should, quote, know your limits.
Which is just so unfair.
It is. And if you're listening to this right now, I mean, think about the internal clock you hold yourself to. We all do it judging ourselves harshly for things we think we should have outgrown by 25 or 40 or 50. Now, multiply that baseline human shame by 1,000 and apply it to your basic neurological functions.
It's a heavy, heavy burden. But what's brilliant about the essay is how it takes that deeply personal shame and completely dismantles it.
How does she do that?
The text argues that shame is a bad diagnostician. Shame tells you that you're too old for this, that you should have known better, that wanting an ordinary life is somehow dangerous.
Yeah.
Shame mistakes a neurological collapse for a defect in character.
But I imagine it's incredibly hard not to feel that shame when the outside world is constantly reinforcing it.
Oh, definitely. And that's the cruel paradox highlighted in the text. Think about the intent of the trip. The desire was entirely real and harmless, right?
Just to buy a shirt.
To go to the mall, look at fabric, buy something pretty, and go home tired but not destroyed. A small, ordinary domestic pleasure.
Right.
But when the environment's sensory hostility triggers a meltdown, society treats that meltdown as evidence against the person's desire to be there.
Oh, I see. The world assumes, like, well, if you couldn't handle the mall, you must not have really wanted to come in the first place.
Or worse, you shouldn't have tried.
Exactly. You don't belong here.
Precisely. The culture takes the agonizing cost of access and uses it as proof that access shouldn't have even been attempted. It completely invalidates the very real human desire to participate in public life.
Wow.
What shame does is take a civilization's refusal to build survivable public spaces, and it deposits that massive structural debt entirely inside one person's body.
Which is such a massive paradigm shift. It takes the camera off of the individual's failure and pans out to reveal the structural institutional blind spots all around us.
Yes.
And the critique really starts with medicine. The text points out there's something profoundly wrong with the fact that sensory processing is not central to the diagnostic criteria for autism in the DSM-5.
This is a huge ongoing point of contention in the community.
I bet.
The DSM-5 lets sensory differences in through what the author calls the side door. It frames sensory issues as an adjunct, a quirk, or just a subset of restricted and repetitive behaviors.
Okay, let me push back on that for a second, just to play devil's advocate.
Sure.
The DSM is a psychiatric manual, right? It relies heavily on clinically observable behavior. Isn't a person's internal sensory experience highly subjective and, like, harder to measure?
That's the typical argument, yes.
So if it's still in the manual as a side door criteria, what's the actual harm? Why is that such a big problem?
Because in medicine, where you place a symptom dictates how you understand the entire condition.
Okay.
If you place sensory processing at the periphery, you treat it like a byproduct. You look at it as just an observable oddity. Oh, look, they cover their ears when it's loud.
Right, like a behavioral quirk.
Exactly. But the text argues that sensory processing isn't a byproduct, it is ground zero. It is the literal weather under which everything else, language, movement, social reciprocity, either survives or completely collapses.
Wow, ground zero.
What happened at the mall wasn't just difficulty with change or repetitive behavior. It was the physical world entering the nervous system too fast, too loud, too multiple, causing the body to lose the ability to convert need into recognized language.
That makes so much sense.
When medicine gets the foundation wrong, the treatment and the societal understanding just follow suit.
And because medicine views it as a quirk rather than the foundation, the actual physical architecture of our world reflects that ignorance.
Absolutely.
The essay lists them out clearly.
Yeah.
Malls, schools, hospitals, airports, grocery stores, standard office staff meetings. Almost every single place where a person is expected to arrive and participate with their language fully intact is designed as if sensory processing simply does not exist.
The environment assumes that everyone's baseline is the exact same. The text states, "The world assumes continuity, autistic bodies no rupture."
Autistic bodies, no rupture.
So
That's powerful.
the built world assumes that if you walked in, your nervous system will allow you to smoothly walk out. If you were speaking 10 minutes ago, you can speak now. It assumes a straight, unbroken line of functioning.
Which just isn't reality for so many people.
Right. And this raises an important question. What kind of civilization made ordinary life so hard to enter?
Yeah.
That is the question posed by the material, and it really forces you to stop and reevaluate everything.
It shifts the entire burden of responsibility, doesn't it?
It does. It forces us to realize that ordinary environments become disabling not because the autistic person is inherently fragile or broken,
Right.
but because the environment was built as if only one very specific kind of nervous system counted.
Here's where it gets really interesting.
Mm.
The piece ends with what is described as a field note, a final, crystal clear realization sitting there in the hangover of the meltdown.
Mm-hmm.
The realization isn't that they failed to enter ordinary life. The realization is that ordinary life was built with a door that was fundamentally too narrow for the body they actually have.
That's the crux of it.
And when they got stuck in that narrow door, our culture looked at them, blamed them, and called it a symptom.
It's a profound reframing of the entire medical model of disability.
Yeah.
The symptom isn't the meltdown itself. The symptom is the narrow door.
Oh.
The meltdown is just the natural, expected friction of a human body trying to force its way through a space that stubbornly refuses to accommodate its dimensions.
So what does this all mean? We started this deep dive by talking about grand historic achievements.
Right, the Everest summit.
Exactly. But what this material gives us is a fundamental, ground-up challenge to how we define something as basic as access. This isn't just a story about a bad trip to the mall.
No, it's not.
It's a call to recognize the quiet, desperate arithmetic happening all around us every single day in spaces we just take for granted.
It asks us to look past the administratively legible cries for help, to see the people who are physically present, but whom our environments have rendered completely unreachable.
So for you, listening right now, I want you to carry this new lens into your day. The next time you walk into a brightly lit grocery store, or you're sitting in a noisy, echoing staff meeting.
Or dragging your luggage through a chaotic airport terminal.
Yes. I want you to remember this arithmetic. Look around and recognize that the environment that feels continuous and easy for you might represent a profound, invisible, exhausting cost for someone standing right next to you. Recognize the hidden tax of simply being present.
And I'll leave you with a final thought to mull over as you go about your day. The source material establishes so clearly that our public spaces currently disable certain bodies because they cater to only one type of nervous system.
Right.
The world assumes continuity, so imagine if we actually flip the script entirely.
What would that look like?
Well, what would a grocery store, a public school, or a hospital waiting room actually look like, sound like, and feel like if it were designed from the ground up to assume sensory rupture rather than continuity as the normal, expected human baseline?
Wow. What if the door was just built wide enough in the first place? Maybe the real headline-making historic achievement isn't an individual overcoming the agonizing impossible odds of the local mall.
Right.
Maybe the grand historic achievement is us collectively finally deciding to build a world where a simple trip to the mall is just allowed to be ordinary.